You're the kind of guy who gets a participation trophy in life." She laughed as she left me for a winner. I quietly moved out and said nothing. She just showed up at my new place, broke and alone, and I simply turned her away. Hey viewers, before we move on to the video, please make sure to subscribe to the channel and hit the like button if you want to see more stories like this. Thanks. It's funny how you can spend years building a life with someone, laying a foundation brick by brick, only for them to look at it one day and decide the bricks are the wrong color. My life wasn't built for a magazine cover. It was built for comfort, for stability, for us. I was a software dev, a simple guy who valued a quiet evening at home over a packed nightclub. While she was busy curating an Instagram aesthetic, I was curating a savings account, a solid credit score, and a plan for a future that didn't involve living paycheck to paycheck. Jessica, on the other hand, was all about the veneer. She worked in marketing, a job that was less about a product and more about a persona. Her social media was a highlight reel of brunches, spontaneous trips, and perfectly lit selfies. She'd always talk about finding your tribe and living your best life. For a long time, I thought I was part of that best life. I was the one who paid for half of the spontaneous trips, the one who handled the bills so she could buy new outfits for her posts, the one who listened to her vent about 1,000 minor workplace dramas. I saw myself as the anchor, the calm center to her chaotic, public-facing world. And for a while, she seemed to appreciate it. She'd call me her rock, her steady hand. Looking back, I should have realized that a rock is something you stand on, not something you stand with. The crack started small. A subtle jab about my car not being cool enough, a sigh when I suggested a quiet movie night instead of a crowded rooftop bar. They were small enough to ignore, to pass off as a difference in personality. But then she started with a new phrase, financially ambitious. It was always about how I was financially responsible, but not financially ambitious. To her, ambitious meant making a splash, not a deposit. It meant risky, high-reward ventures, not slow, steady growth. It meant driving a sports car, not paying off a mortgage. That's when Mark entered the picture. He was a new hire in her department, a guy who had made it big, with some crypto startup that went belly up just before he landed his new role. He still talked like a venture capitalist, all buzzwords and bravado, and drove a leased German sedan that he treated like a status symbol. He was everything I wasn't, and Jessica was completely infatuated with his image. I tried not to let it bother me. He was just a coworker, a friend. But then the social media posts started. First, it was harmless group photos at work events. Then, it was just the two of them, captioned with inside jokes I didn't get. It felt like she was building a second life, a parallel world where I didn't exist. She'd come home glowing, talking about networking and future opportunities with Mark. I'd ask her about her day and she'd give me these vague, glowing answers about her synergy with him. My chest would tighten, but I'd tell myself it was just a new friendship, a new work connection. I didn't want to be the jealous, insecure boyfriend. I trusted her. And to be honest, I was just too busy. My app side project was starting to get some traction, and I was spending my nights and weekends trying to build a solid foundation for it. It was my baby, my long-term play, and something I was genuinely proud of. I wanted to show her the progress, to tell her about the new users, but she was always distracted, always on her phone, laughing at some text I wasn't privy to. The final gut punch didn't come from a text or a conversation. It came from a screenshot a mutual friend sent me. It was a post on Jessica's profile, a photo of her and Mark laughing on a park bench. Her arm was linked in his, and he was holding a coffee cup that said boss. The caption was something nauseatingly cryptic like, finally found someone who speaks my language. Hashtag no more half measures. But the real betrayal was in the comments. Our mutual friend had written, "So happy for you. He's so much more fun than what's his name." And Jessica's reply, for all the world to see, was pure poison. It hit me in the chest like a physical blow. The words swam on the screen, a punch to the face. I reread it 3 times, just to make sure I wasn't mistaken. He's the kind of guy who gets a participation trophy in life. So glad I found a winner. The laughter from the picture seemed to echo in my ears. I didn't get angry. I didn't feel rage. All I felt was a sudden, cold clarity. The foundation I had spent so long building was never for us. It was a participation trophy for a game she was never playing. I took a deep breath, and I walked into the living room where she was on her laptop, a slight smile on her face, probably scrolling through comments. The next part was going to be simple, and it was going to be cold. I walked into the living room, my phone in my hand, the screenshot glowing like a poisonous gem. Jessica was on the couch, laptop open, scrolling through social media. She had a little smile on her face, the kind she wore when she knew she had posted something clever. She glanced up at me, that same smug energy radiating off her. "Hey," she said, her voice a little too breezy. "You're quiet tonight." "Yeah," I said, my voice steady. "I was just looking at something you posted." I held my phone out to her, the screenshot of the comment chain still on the screen. She squinted at it, and her smile vanished. Her eyes darted from the screen to me, and for a split second, I saw a flash of panic. But it was quickly replaced by a cool defensiveness. The kind of look she got when she was about to justify something she knew was wrong. "Oh," she said, setting her laptop aside. It was just a joke, Alex. You know I post stuff like that all the time." "Is it?" I asked, my voice flat. Because it didn't look like a joke. It looked like a very public dismissal. A statement. "You call me a guy who gets the participation trophy in life. Do you mean that?" She sighed, a dramatic, put-upon sound. "God, you're being so dramatic. It's just a comment on a photo. It's not a big deal. The fact that you're making it one is kind of the problem, you know? It's part of what I was talking about. You're so sensitive. You just don't get it." "Get what?" I asked, my tone still even. "This," she gestured vaguely around the room. "The wholest thing. It's stagnant. You're so predictable. You have your routine, your quiet little projects, your 5-year plans. You never take risks. You just play it safe. Mark is the opposite of that. He gets it. We're on the same wavelength. He's going to be a partner at his firm in 2 years. He actually lives a life that's worth sharing." She leaned forward, her voice dropping a little, as if sharing a painful truth. "I need someone who's a challenge, who has an edge. I'm sorry, but I'm just tired of dating a guy who gets a participation trophy in life." The words, spoken directly to my face, were even more cutting than when I read them online. They were meant to wound, to make me feel small. But instead of the pain I expected, a weird sense of peace settled over me. There was no rage, no heartbreak, just a quiet, numb recognition. This was who she was. The veneer was gone. "Okay," I said, standing up. She blinked, surprised by my lack of reaction. "Okay, that's all you have to say? You're just okay with this?" "Yeah," I said, walking to the bedroom. "I am. I think I finally get it. You were never in this with me. You were just waiting for a better option. A winner, in your words. Well, you found one. Congratulations." I grabbed my go bag from the closet and started stuffing clothes and a few toiletries into it. She followed me, her voice rising in a mix of confusion and anger. "What are you doing?" "Alex, stop. Don't be so dramatic. We can talk about this. I'm just telling you how I feel. Don't you care about my feelings?" I stopped and looked at her. Her face was a mask of indignation, her hands on her hips. "You're the one who told me you found a winner," I said. "You're the one who just said our life was a participation trophy. I'm just accepting what you said. If this is a stagnant, boring life to you, then you shouldn't be in it." I finished packing the bag. She was still standing there, her mouth slightly agape, clearly expecting tears, shouting, or begging. But all she got was silence. I zipped up the bag, grabbed my wallet and keys, and walked out the door. She was still calling my name as I walked down the hall, her voice a mix of confusion and disbelief. I didn't turn around. I didn't say another word. I just kept walking until I was in my car, and then I drove away. The only sound was the low hum of the engine, a welcome change from the noise she'd been making. I didn't know where I was going, but for the first time in a long time, I felt completely free. The silence was an absence of her, and it was the most peaceful feeling in the world. The weeks that followed were a surreal quiet. It was like living in a house after the party has ended and all the guests have gone home. I had moved into a small, furnished apartment on the other side of town. It wasn't much, but it was mine, and the silence was a welcome relief. She tried to call a few times, her name flashing on my screen, but I never answered. I didn't need to hear her excuses, her justifications, or her anger. I had already heard everything I needed to know. I muted her on all social media. I didn't block her at first. I wanted to see if she would post anything that would give me a reason to laugh. But her posts soon became a grim confirmation of her new life with Mark. Photos of him driving his fancy car, photos of them at expensive dinners, photos of her looking smug and content. The captions were all about finding her soulmate and being finally happy. It was sickeningly predictable. I told no one. I didn't rant to my friends. I didn't post vague, angsty statuses. When people asked where Jessica was, I simply said we had broken up and left it at that. I knew the rumor mill would be working overtime, but I couldn't be bothered. Their opinion of me didn't matter. What mattered was my peace. For the first time in a long time, I was able to focus on my side project without the constant distraction of her drama. The little app one had been building, a simple budgeting tool, was finally getting some traction. I was spending my nights and weekends coding, not fighting. The peace of mind was worth more than gold. My life wasn't about public validation. It was about quiet progress. Months passed. The silence from Jessica was a blessing. I had almost forgotten about her until a new rumor began to circulate through our old social circles. Mark wasn't a winner after all. His supposed crypto wealth was a lie. He had used a family trust fund and was living a lavish lifestyle on borrowed time. The company he worked for discovered he had been embezzling funds and using the company card to pay for his extravagant dates with Jessica. He was fired and disappeared without a trace. Jessica was left to deal with the fallout. She was fired from her job due to her association with Mark's scandal. The friends who had once praised her for leaving me and finding a winner were now silent. Her social media, once a vibrant stream of filtered photos, went completely dark. The whispers in our old circle of friends turned into a low hum of gossip. Jessica had lost everything. Her reputation, her job, her fancy lifestyle, and the man she had left me for. She was seen working at a local diner, a far cry from the fancy restaurants she used to post about. The poetic justice of it all was not lost on me. I didn't feel joy or vindication, just a deep sense of calm. She had gambled everything on a lie, and she had lost. The first contact came from a number I didn't recognize. It was a text. "Hey, it's Jessica. I know it's been a while, but I was just wondering how you were doing." I deleted it without a response. A few days later, a mutual friend texted me. "Hey man, I know what happened with Jessica was messed up, but she's been through a lot. A lot of our friends are really worried about her. She really misses you. Don't you think you could just be there for her, just as a friend?" I didn't even bother to respond. I blocked the number. A week later, there was a knock on my door. I opened it to see Jessica standing there, a shadow of her former self. Her hair was messy, her clothes were wrinkled, and her eyes were red and puffy. She was a broken woman. "Alex, please," she said, her voice a thin, desperate whisper. "Can we just talk? Please. I made a mistake. A huge mistake. I never should have left you for him. I was so confused. You were right all along." My face was a blank slate. "Right about what, Jessica?" She started to cry. "Right about everything. He was a liar. He used me. I lost everything. My job, my savings, my reputation. I'm working at that diner just to make rent. My parents won't even talk to me. I'm so sorry, Alex. I miss you. I miss our life." "A year ago," I said, my voice calm and devoid of emotion, "you left because I was predictable and a participation trophy. You told me you found a winner. You posted it for everyone to see. Now you're standing here telling me you lost everything because of him. And I'm supposed to feel. What, exactly?" She flinched as if I had struck her. "I'm not asking for you to feel sorry for me. I'm just asking for a second chance. I've learned my lesson." "No, you're not," I said, a slight shake of my head. "You're asking for me to be your safety net. You're asking for me to clean up a mess you made. That's not love, Jessica. That's convenience. I'm not that guy anymore. I'm not a backup plan. The person you're asking for is gone." She looked at me, her eyes filled with a desperate hope. "But what if we could just start over?" I didn't answer right away. I let her look past me, into my new apartment. She could see the comfortable furniture, the lack of clutter, the sense of quiet peace that had filled my life since she had left. She saw the new laptop on my desk, the one I had used to build the app that was now making me more money than my day job. She could see that my life was far from a participation trophy. I looked back at her, and the words came to me, simple and true. "Jessica, you're asking to start over with a guy you told everyone wasn't worth the effort. You're looking for a person who doesn't exist anymore. He's been replaced with someone who's completely happy without you. I'm sorry, but you need to leave." I reached for the door handle. She just stood there, speechless, the reality of her irrelevance sinking in. I didn't raise my voice. I didn't curse her. I didn't even wish her well. I simply closed the door. The sound of the lock clicking into place was a quiet, final act. The last goodbye. Thanks for watching. Make sure to subscribe to the channel and hit the like button. What do you think about this story? Share it in the comments.